Hi everyone. So Venus is ingressing into the sign of Libra later today. I am recording this on the 13th of October, and certainly for those of you in the UK on British summertime, it's happening 22:19 on the 13th of October. Of course, apply your own time zones because it will be the 14th of October for some of you in the world. So Venus ingressing into Libra, she's going home. She's going to one of her home signs. And of course, we are in Libra season. So not only is this heightening the energy of Libra, the fairness, the balance, the reciprocity, equal give and take, the justice that we want to experience, certainly on a foundational soul level with the sun in Libra, but in relation to our Venus values. So what do I mean by that? Well, where are we investing our time, our energy, our love, our attention, our money? Are we investing in things, in people, situations, and getting a fair return? Is it balanced? Is it harmonious? Is there justice? And looking at that under the microscope, worth and values is a big thing. And Venus will remind us of this from a place of unconditional love, nurturing, and from a creation perspective with that divine feminine energy. So what are we trying to create for our reality? And are our investments from a Venus values perspective in alignment with what we're trying to create? Are they balanced? I always say there is a bigger picture to astrology, and there is, because Saturn in Pisces at the moment during his retrograde is going over old ground and making sure we are in alignment with our soul's truth, our soul's integrity, spiritual integrity. So this lesson from Venus is also supporting what Saturn is showing and vice versa. Saturn is a great teacher and will be showing us things. And then we add Neptune into the mix, lifting the veil, revealing what may have been hidden, revealing what we may have suppressed from ourselves. And with Neptune in opposition to Venus, at the point of ingress, there is this push-pull type energy to what we're being shown, what is being revealed behind the curtain, so to speak. And are we in a position within soul alignment to accept and also honor our worth and values enough to adjust our boundaries, to adjust our Venus investments, in order to make sure that we are in alignment and we are coming from a place of spiritual integrity. Now, of course, because Saturn's in the mix, lessons, tests, so it might feel quite intense. And of course, Neptune is just revealing stuff. This is part of the awakening process. And even those of us that have already awakened, there's further levels and layers to this. So we're being shown a lot, basically, in our own lives, and it's to get us to a point of absolute alignment. We're on a healing journey, of course, we're always evolving, but this year, 2025, a 9-year, this is shedding the skin, this is releasing a lot. And I've been saying this for a long time, but the theme of endings and beginnings has played a consistent role in the astrology throughout. And we've got Neptune with this direct opposition to Venus, Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. So he is at the cusp point of, between signs. So endings, beginnings. And he's going to go back into Pisces next week. And the astrology next week is such that we've got a new moon in Libra. Neptune's going to retrograde back into Pisces and join his teammate Saturn in Pisces. And then we've got Scorpio season starting. Soul rebirth, like profound transformation. So there's a lot going on. And with Venus ingressing into Libra, of course, that's going to feel comfortable. It is a benefic position because it is one of Venus's home signs, but we have to look at everything else as well. And this is going to happen 5.5 hours approximately before Pluto stations direct in Aquarius. This is all part of the new reality that we're moving towards. So the profound transformation, not surface level, deep. Well, we've got to go deep. We've got to go to the ethers, the depths of the soul, to trudge stuff up for that inner work, healing that we need to do. But also because we're being shown certain stuff that we need to process and receive the lessons for. Ultimately, we're gaining more wisdom from it, of course, but it can feel harsh, it can feel quite intense because, as I said, this year is just about releasing and getting us in alignment because things are changing. And if you can feel it, if you're resonating with it, you are going to know that things are changing. So I'm going to pull up the chart, and I will also show you the chart against the UK's natal chart to give you some context on the house system. Okay, so let's dive in. Bear with me whilst I find it on here. And apologies if the room is a bit echoey. I have got my microphone somewhere, but I forgot to get it out in time. So let's show you the chart. I have already showed this and shared this on social media, but here we go. Okay, so Venus ingresses into Libra. British summertime, 22/19, 13th of October. Okay, and you can see 0 degrees there, and we've got this opposition to Neptune. 0 degrees point. Obviously, the minutes are different. Excuse me, but it's still the 0 degrees. So it's still emphasizing a beginning. But because Neptune is in retrograde and will be moving back into Pisces, it's also an ending because he's going to be going back over the anaretic degree of Pisces very soon. So endings, beginnings, we're closing out cycles. But to do that, he's having to reveal stuff that's been hidden. He's revealing deceptive energy, sabotage where we've self-sabotaged, illusion, and also the shadow aspects that we maybe don't want to see. Okay. But he's also reminding us with that spiritual essence to trust our intuition. So he's showing us things that we already know within our soul. But Venus reminding us that in order to restore balance, are we actually understanding from a worth and values perspective what we're being shown? Because sometimes we might want to hide that. And, you know, Lilith is also in Libra at this point as well. So, okay, you know, we want to strive for fairness and reciprocity, of course, but there may be some shadow aspects around receiving fairness because perhaps throughout our lives or even past lives, it could be that there's been this imbalance and that's more familiar. And it's easier to accept that than to actually demand and command what we are truly worth, which is reciprocity. And this is part of divine justice, and past Fortuna is in Libra at this point as well. So that is where the success is, receiving the fairness. And of course, we know the sun is in Libra because we're in Libra season. So we're kind of, you know, we're getting to the final decan of Libra when it comes to the sun, because next week we are in Scorpio season. So yeah, it's also about closing out this cycle and making sure we've received that wisdom about fairness and reciprocity and what that means to us from a worth and values perspective. I said on my social media post that this is about the divine feminine, Venus energy, the divine feminine returning home to herself. So throughout our experiences and challenges and what we've had to go through, this is about recalibration and also recognizing what we are being shown, what we inherently know within about situations and whether they are truly fair and balanced for us. Of course, as we evolve and we ascend, certain situations, people are going to fall out of alignment with us. Okay, so adjustments are needed, or it's like a closeout of a cycle. So because we're always evolving, we need to recognize that change is part of this process. And I mentioned change, and there is this beautiful grand trine between Venus and Pluto in Aquarius, of course, retrograde at this point, but will soon be stationing direct, and Uranus retrograde in Gemini, also at the 0 degree point. So that beginning of change, but Uranus also heightening the energy of endings and beginnings, so closing out cycles, because we need change. We need to approach things from a different perspective and a higher perspective from that wisdom, okay? This is a Grand Air Trine, of course, and the cardinal energy sits with Venus because of Libra. So recognizing that we need to start things off from that place of the Venus values and where we are investing our resources. And is it aligned? Is it fair? Is it balanced? Of course, if we're walking around thinking we're not worthy of balance and reciprocity, it might feel aligned, but it might feel a little bit off because our intuition is actually saying, no, 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 no. This is actually not fair. This is actually not harmonious. And we need to balance the scales, okay? The scales of justice here. So Libra is the cardinal energy, and Libra rules the 7th house of relationships with people, places, things. Of course, Aries is the opposite cardinal sign. Of course, we know Neptune is in that direct opposition. And Aries rules the 1st house of the self. So it is a bit of a battle between relationships with people, places, things, and the self. So Venus values investment in people, places, things. Is that in alignment with what we're being shown from a self perspective, from a sovereign perspective? Okay, looking at it like that. So this grand trine with Pluto there and Uranus, that's about major change and profound transformation. So by getting our Venus values in line, our worth and values in line, nurturing ourselves through the process, this is facilitating major change. Boundaries are a part of this. Saturn is going to teach about boundaries. Neptune might show us where we haven't had any. Saturn might also show us, but Venus might also show us. Because it's like, well, is this fair? Is this a fair exchange? And you reflect and you think, no. Okay, so do you need to put boundaries in place to make sure it's fair? So not giving so much of your time to that thing, that person, whatever it might be, and restoring the balance because maybe you've given too much. Okay, so it's reflecting on that. Okay, Venus is also in trine to Pallas in Aquarius, so there is some degree of strategy here. And when we think of Aquarius, the new reality, but I feel here, because Pallas represents divine feminine energy as well, asteroid energy, Pallas Athena, like goddess Athena, the warrior spirit, there is sovereignty to her as well. She can strategize. She fights for what she wants through strategy. So it's almost like, you know, needing to own the independence. So Aquarius, even though Aquarius is very much about, you know, connections with others, humanitarian, what's the word? Humanitarian endeavors, and linking with a lot of people. Technology is also part of this as well. We can see how this is going with, you know, the current sort of technological age that we're in. But there is an independence to Aquarius as well. So even though it's connections with others, the collective, there is a uniqueness to Aquarian energy. So I feel intuitively that this is about, okay, understanding that we are unique, we are independent, and we need to fight for what we are trying to create. So if we have to adjust our Venus values, our Venus investments, then so be it. Okay, it's in accordance with our reality that we are trying to create. Okay. The challenge might come from where we need to have honest communication, because there is a semi-square to Mercury in Scorpio. So Scorpio is raw, authentic, deep, can be quite sting in the tail, like Scorpion, but there is depth to Scorpio, okay? And it's very transformative energy. So by having honest communication can transform a situation, okay? But it's about going there, it's about going deep, and it's about being real and honest and not shying away from that. So if you need to adjust your Venus investments, if you need to put boundaries in place, if you need to invest your time in a certain situation or person less, okay, to restore balance, it's about being honest about it and communicating it, even if it's just being honest with yourself, but it could be that it's needing to communicate to other people. And if the respect isn't there to honor your boundaries, then that's not balanced to start with, is it? So it's about not shying away from being honest, because what have you got to lose from that? It's about restoring balance in your life, in your situation, okay? And that's what we're striving for, to balance the scales, to ensure there is harmony and fairness because of worth and values here, okay? From a sovereign perspective, but also a fair perspective as well. Okay, and that is what is facilitating the change there with Uranus and Pluto, profound transformation. But yeah, looking at a situation from a different perspective, but understanding your own perspective in it as well is crucial. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to show you the chart up against the UK's chart. So bear with me. Okay, because I looked at these earlier today and marked them up ready. Obviously, they've been on my social media. Okay, so inner wheel, UK's natal chart, outer wheel is the event I've just shown you. So I've drawn that in the middle, exactly what I've just shown you. But it gives you context for the house system, and you can do the same for your own natal chart, and it will give you an idea of how the energy is playing out for you. So for the UK, for example, this Venus ingress into Libra is happening in the 3rd house of expression and communication. So anything that challenges or inhibits your own expression when it comes to your Venus investments of your time, your money, your love, your attention, needs to be addressed, okay? And the honest communication is foundational. So, and that's where the sun is. So soul essence of the cosmos is supporting that soul foundation energy of the fairness that we want to receive, but needing to be honest from the soul. Like when we think of the foundation, we need to be rooted in that honesty, okay, to speak up. That's where the challenge might be. The opposition energy to Neptune, Neptune is in the 9th house, as is Saturn, of course, and the North Node. So, you know, we are on a quest. It is about connecting with our intuition. But this is about, obviously, you know, recognizing that what Neptune is showing us, we are learning 9th house from that. What we are discovering is enabling us to tweak where we need to, our Venus values, to rebalance when it comes to our expression. Okay. And the Grand Trine, so Pluto is in the 7th house and Uranus in the 11th. This is very interesting because this links expression with relationships with people, places, things, and connections with others. So definitely connections with others is heightened because you've got 11th house connections with others and relationships with people in the 7th house bracket. But you have also got relationships with places and things, and we have relationships with many things, okay? It's very vague, but we have relationships with many things. So that's where the transformation, the profound transformation is happening. Change is needed in connections with others to restore the Venus values, because notice that natal Venus is there in the 11th house as well. But there's a shift in our relationships, and Libra does relate to relationships as well. So we need to take stock of investment of our time, our energy, our love, our attention, our money, relationships with hobbies. You know, are we investing too much time in a certain hobby that's not giving back to us? We're not getting the return from it anymore. Or are we actually getting a lot from it? We're going to know from that that that's aligned. It's the same with, you know, the relationship we have with ourselves. So are we being honest with ourselves about where we're investing our time and our attention? So looking at all those things, okay, just to give you some context to the house system. But as I say, with your natal chart, that's going to give you a clearer picture, okay, and it's going to show you the other aspects with the planets. For example, you know, ninth house, you've got Neptune conjunct, the minutes are different, but degrees are the same, conjunct the UK's natal Uranus. So majorly like learning about change, and that is change when it comes to the sovereign identity. Okay, so that is currently what is being tested because of what's being shown. Okay, what's being revealed, what Neptune is revealing to us. Okay, but there's certainly a lot. There's certainly a lot going on. So let's stop sharing. Okay, yeah. So I would say, as a reminder, it's about the divine feminine returning home to herself in a nurturing capacity, fueled by the desire to create that which she wants for her reality. So regardless of gender or how you identify, you've got masculine and feminine essence within you, the masculine drive to take action and the feminine nurturing ability and the creator within. This is emphasizing the Venus values when it comes to that divine feminine essence. And being at home, it's almost like, sounds quite deep, but being at one with yourself, okay, to really understand about your investment of resources in people, places, and things, and whether you are getting a fair return. Now, the only way you're going to determine if it's a fair return is through your own judgment. And that can be in terms of how you feel, that can be what your intuition is obviously guiding you towards, but you're the only one that's going to know if that's fair for you. There's recognition, of course, with Neptune showing certain things and Saturn testing us, that maybe there's some difficult things that are being revealed, but we still need to take stock and make adjustments, understand what that's showing us and gaining the wisdom from it, of course, but recognizing that as a result of that revelation, whatever it might be, and I've certainly had my fair few over the past couple of days, so I'm not immune to this either. It's about adjustments and where boundaries are needed, okay, because perhaps things are revealed that actually show I didn't have any boundaries and that was why, you know, or it could be that, you know, you need to soften your boundaries. It really depends on your own situation, if it's resonating for you at all, because I know of many people going through this awakening process, this ascension process, okay, elevating, and it's just, there's a lot going on because we're really being tested to make sure we're in alignment with our spiritual truth, but it's not going to resonate for everybody because some people are not open and ready for that journey, and that's okay. But I would just say that recognition of your Venus investments, I mean, I call them your Venus values, but essentially it's where you're investing your time, your love, your attention, your money, your energy. It's extremely valuable commodity. Where are you investing that? Are you feeling depleted after being around certain people? Are you really feeling like you're doing something and you don't know why you're doing it because it doesn't make you feel good? Perhaps it did once and now it's not. It's adjustment to what's going on now, and certainly in the direction of the reality that you're trying to create for your life. Okay, so just a little reminder there. But really it is about ensuring that you are coming back to yourself from a value and worth perspective, and that's why Neptune is showing these things, so that that can be addressed. It might feel uncomfortable, it might be like a whoa kind of moment, but recognize that with that beautiful Grand Trine, that's harmonious. So even if it feels challenging, and certainly, you know, with that semi-square to Mercury, it could feel very challenging to have conversations about it where you need to be honest and speak up that something is not right. It's about recognition that through those adjustments from the Venus perspective, because that's the cardinal energy, it facilitates major change, profound transformation. So it is about completely changing, you know, your way of being or responding to a certain situation in order for you to be aligned with your path. Equally, you know, if you look at Pluto and Uranus themselves, with the major change, sudden changes, kind of forcing you almost to look at things from a different perspective, a higher perspective, and having the curiosity to really go there to look at things, but also the profound transformation that Pluto is really, really encouraging us to go through as well. And as I said, it's not surface level, it's deep. So as a result of just that, we need to look at our Venus values, don't we? Because we're transforming, so that's going to change. And we need to pivot in order to be aligned with our path. Okay, so I wish you all the best, and I will be doing a video. I don't know if it's going to be a YouTube one or just on social media about Pluto stationing direct, because that's happening not long after this Venus ingress. So that Grand Trine is still there. So there's still that supporting energy from Venus and the values and the worth. Okay, boundaries, I feel, is an important part of this, but Uranus as well. So that Grand Trine is still there. So I'll see. I might actually do a quick YouTube video for it as well, but definitely I'll put something on social media. So I wish you all the best, and take care of yourself. And remember, it's about returning home to yourself so you can understand if you need to put boundaries in place, what adjustments you might need to make, any pivots in order to get aligned with worth and values relating to your investment of Venus resources. Okay? There's also that message of unconditional love. So having that unconditional love for yourself, that self-love, that self-respect, as cheesy as it sounds, but needing to embrace that as part of the process, because that ensures you make those adjustments, because it's like this newfound love for yourself because of what's been revealed that then enables you to say, okay, message received, I'm not tolerating that anymore, I'm making this adjustment, I'm making this pivot. Or message received, yeah, I don't feel so good after doing that thing, so I'm maybe not going to do it so much, or I might just do it for a little bit of time, but I'm not going to spend my whole afternoon there. Just giving you examples, okay? So take it as it resonates, leave what doesn't, as always, okay? And I wish you all the best. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.